Some family secrets are not hidden because people want to hurt each other. They are hidden because someone believes the truth will do too much damage. Tonight's story is about Diane, a woman waiting for one date on the calendar: her youngest daughter's college graduation. After that, she believes she can finally leave her marriage without destroying the family she spent years holding together. She has an apartment, she has a key, she has a plan. But plans made in silence rarely survive the people we are trying to protect. And by the end of graduation weekend, Diane will have to face the one truth she has spent years avoiding.
I kept the apartment key in the small zipper pocket inside my purse, the one where I used to keep emergency cash when the girls were little. For 3 weeks, I checked for it every morning. Not because I thought it had disappeared, because I needed to remind myself it was real. The key was plain silver, copied at a hardware store between a pharmacy run and a stop at the dry cleaner. The first tag had come from the leasing office, with the unit number printed on a small white sticker. I peeled the sticker off the first night and dropped it into the trash at a gas station 3 miles from home. Then I tied on a blank white tag instead. Nothing was written on it. That should have made me feel careful. Instead, the blank tag made the key look even more like evidence, as if even the thing I had erased still knew what I was doing. The key itself was ordinary. No bright plastic cover, no dramatic weight. Nothing that said freedom, new beginning, or any of the words women use when they are trying to make a painful thing sound clean. It was just a key. But every time my fingers found it, something inside me answered with one word: after. After Emily graduated, after the last tuition payment cleared, after the photos, after the lunch, after everyone had gone home and the house had gone back to being what it really was: quiet. I was 58 years old, and for almost 7 years, I had been leaving my husband in private. Not with suitcases, not with a lawyer's letter, not with one dramatic sentence across the kitchen table. I left in smaller ways first. I stopped telling Paul when something hurt. I stopped reaching for his hand in the grocery store. I stopped asking what he wanted because he always said, "Anything's fine," and then accepted whatever I gave him with the careful gratitude of a polite guest. That was one of the hardest parts about Paul. He rarely gave me anything clean to hate. He was not cruel. He remembered oil changes and dental appointments. He drove my mother to the cardiologist when I could not. He changed the batteries in the smoke detectors before they chirped. If I told the story wrong, I sounded ungrateful. If I told it honestly, I sounded trapped by kindness. The morning I copied the key, I had almost told him something, not about the apartment, not yet, something smaller. I had stood in the kitchen with my purse over my shoulder, watching him line Emily's graduation napkins beside the plates, blue on one side, white on the other. "Paul," I said. He looked up. "Do we need more ice?" "No, because I can get some when I pick up the balloons." "I don't care about the ice." He paused with one napkin still in his hand. For 1 second, there was a doorway. Not the apartment, not Maple Ridge, a different kind. I could have said, "I am lonely standing 3 feet away from you." I could have said, "I do not know where I went." Instead, Paul looked at the clock over the pantry door and said, "If I leave by 10, I can beat the pharmacy line." The doorway closed so quietly it almost felt polite. "Okay," I said. That was how our marriage sounded by then. Me reaching for something I could not name. Paul answering with errands. Both of us grateful the moment had passed, so I did not tell it. I became an expert at being fine. "Do you want coffee?" Paul asked me that Friday morning. He stood at the counter in his old gray t-shirt, cutting strawberries for the fruit bowl Emily wanted after graduation. His reading glasses sat low on his nose. He cut the tops off one by one. Not too much, not too little. "No, I'm good," I said. "You sure?" "I'm sure." The refrigerator hummed behind me. The old wall clock over the pantry door clicked louder than it should have. 2 days. That was how I counted then. 2 days until after. On the refrigerator, Emily's graduation announcement was held up by a lobster magnet from a family trip years before. Under her smiling photo were the words, "We are proud to announce." We. That word had followed me for 31 years. We bought the house. We raised the girls. We made it through. We had become a sentence everyone else knew how to finish. Paul picked up another strawberry. Emily asked if we still had the blue cooler, he said, in the garage behind the folding chairs. I'll get it later. I can get it. I said I'll get it. There was no sharpness in his voice, just that old, quiet finality, the kind that could pass for help if you did not listen too long. I looked at my purse on the chair beside me. The key was inside. The receipt, too. That morning, I had moved them from the glove compartment back into my purse because Emily was coming home, Natalie would be arriving the next day, and Paul had a way of cleaning cars when he was nervous. I had not dared leave them in the house. I had not dared leave them anywhere he might helpfully find them. So I kept them with me. Too close, too hidden, too late to undo. After.
That key matters because it is so small. Diane can hold it in one hand. She can hide it in one pocket. She can tell herself it belongs only to her. And I understand why she needs it. When someone has been quiet for years, one object can start to feel like proof they still have a choice. But Paul does not know. Her daughters do not know. So is that key courage, secrecy, or both? Keep that question nearby.
By Saturday afternoon, the house sounded like a family again. Our older daughter, Natalie, arrived with her 2 boys just before dinner. They ran straight to the family room, where Paul had already set out the basket of old wooden trains he refused to donate. You kept them? Natalie asked. Quality trains, Paul said from the floor. They're 26 years old. Exactly. Proven. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. That was the thing about a family performance. Some parts were not performance at all. Paul really was good with the boys. Emily really did look beautiful coming downstairs barefoot, holding 2 pairs of earrings up to her ears. Natalie really did kiss my cheek and say, "You look tired, Mom," with the casual accuracy daughters develop once they have families of their own. I'm fine, I told her. She narrowed her eyes. Of course you are. I looked away first. There were too many people in the kitchen, which meant there were too many ways to be seen. Emily was opening sparkling cider. The boys were arguing over trains. Paul was rinsing grapes. Natalie was looking for a hair tie in the drawer near the phone chargers. I kept moving. Napkins, plates, the serving bowl, the cake knife. At one point, Natalie came up beside me and touched my elbow. Do you have Tylenol in your purse? In the front pocket, I said, without thinking. She reached for my purse on the dining room chair. I heard the zipper. Then I heard nothing. No gasp, no dropped glass, just the absence of ordinary movement. I turned. Natalie was standing with one hand inside my purse. Her face had changed. She looked down again, slower this time, and pulled out the key. The little blank white tag swung from it. For 1 second, I thought I could still lie. Then she pulled out the folded receipt behind it. Maple Ridge Apartments, first month, security deposit, move-in date, Monday. Her eyes lifted to mine. Mom, she said. It was not a question. Behind us, Emily laughed at something Paul said. The boys shouted from the family room. The refrigerator hummed like nothing had happened. I stepped toward her. Natalie, she backed away. Is this what I think it is? Not here. Her eyes went wet before her voice did. You were going to leave. Not here, I said again. She folded the receipt in her fist so hard the paper crumpled. After graduation? I reached for her arm. She pulled away. Don't. That word landed louder than if she had shouted. I led her upstairs to the laundry room because it was the only place with a door that stuck. For years I had cried in that room when I could not risk being found. Now, my daughter stood in front of the dryer, holding the proof of my escape. "How long?" she asked. "Natalie, please lower your voice." "How long?" "I signed the lease 3 weeks ago." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Then she laughed once. It was not laughter. 3 weeks. You let Emily pick a cake. You let Dad set up trains for the boys. You let us all come here for pictures. I was waiting until after. After what? After we smiled for you? That's not fair. No, she said. And now the tears came. What's not fair is finding out my mother planned to disappear from her own marriage in the middle of my sister's graduation weekend. I am not disappearing. You rented an apartment. I was going to tell him. When? I could not answer fast enough. Natalie's face hardened. When everyone was gone and no one could stop you? The sentence hit because there was enough truth in it. I waited because I didn't want to ruin this for Emily. No. You waited because you wanted to control when everyone got hurt. Downstairs, Paul called, "Diane, do we need the big platter?" Natalie and I both froze. I wiped under my eye with the heel of my hand. "Just a second," I called. My voice sounded normal. That frightened me more than the crying. Natalie stared at me. "You're really good at that," she said quietly. "At what?" "Sounding fine." I almost slapped her. Not because I wanted to hurt her, because she had said the truest thing in the house. Instead, I gripped the edge of the dryer until the metal dug into my palm. "I did this for you girls," I said. Her face twisted. "Don't put that on me. I'm not." "You are. You're saying you stayed miserable so Emily and I could have a family, and now we're supposed to be grateful for the lie?" My eyes burned. "I stayed because I thought it was the least damaging choice." "And did you ask us?" That stopped me. Natalie wiped her cheeks with both hands, angry at the tears. "I'm not telling Emily tonight," she said. "I won't do that to her. But you tell Dad before I leave tomorrow." "Natalie." "Before I leave," she said. "Or I will." She put the key and receipt on top of the dryer between us. For 1 second, she looked scared of what she had just done. Then she opened the stuck door and went downstairs. I stayed there until I could breathe again. When I came back to the kitchen, Paul was spooning strawberries into a glass bowl. "You okay?" he asked. Natalie stood beside the sink, her back to me. "I'm fine," I said. She looked over her shoulder. For the first time in my life, my daughter did not believe me and did not pretend to.
That is the first real crack. Natalie is angry, and I do not blame her. She found the plan, not the confession. She found the receipt before anyone found the truth. But listen to what she does with that anger. She gives Diane a deadline. Tell him, or I will. That may feel like honesty. It may even be necessary. But it is also control. Already, this family is full of people trying to protect someone by taking over the moment when truth is allowed to enter the room.
That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I found Paul alone at the dining room table. He had Emily's graduation card in front of him. It was cream-colored with a silver border, too formal for Emily, who would have preferred something with a joke on it. Paul held a pen in his right hand, but he was not writing. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Signing Emily's card. Didn't want to forget." "At midnight?" He smiled faintly and covered the inside of the card with one hand. I should have left it alone. Instead, I said, "It's not a state secret, Paul." "I know." He moved his hand. Inside the card, beneath the printed message, he had written only 5 words. "You get your life now." I stared at them longer than I meant to. "Too much?" he asked. "No," I said. "It's good." She worked hard. She gets to start. I nodded. I did not ask why he had written it that way. I did not ask whether he thought the rest of us had not been living. By then, not asking had become my half of the marriage. From the stairway, a floorboard creaked. Natalie was standing there in the dark, one hand on the banister. Her face had gone pale and hard. Paul turned in his chair. "Nat? You need something?" She looked at him, and all her anger changed shape. It became grief. "No," she said. "Just water." She came down, passed me without looking at me, and took a glass from the cabinet. Paul watched her. "You all right?" "Long day," she said. Then she went back upstairs. Paul turned to me. "What was that?" I picked up a stray napkin from the table and folded it in half. "What was what?" He studied me for a second. "Nothing," he said. That was how we survived. One of us noticed something. The other denied it. And then we both agreed to let the room go quiet. The ceremony the next morning came in flashes. Emily's black gown moving between rows of other black gowns. The program folded in my lap. Paul's knee brushing mine when everyone stood. Then Emily crossed the stage, smiling too wide, looking out into the crowd as if she could somehow find us in the blur. Paul cupped his hands around his mouth and shouted her name. I had not expected that. He was not a shouting man. Emily heard him. Her smile changed. It became younger for 1 second, almost childish, and my chest hurt so sharply that I had to look down at the program. Natalie leaned close without moving her eyes from the stage. "Today," she whispered. I did not answer. Afterward, there were photos under a tree near the library. Emily with us. Emily with Natalie. Emily with Paul, who held her carefully like he was afraid of wrinkling her gown. Then lunch at the house, sandwich trays, fruit bowl, leftover cake with blue frosting. Normal. So painfully normal. Except now, Natalie knew. Every time I laughed, I could feel her watching. Once, Emily held up her phone and said, "Mom, Dad, stand together." Paul stepped beside me. I felt his shoulder against mine. The old reflex took over. I smiled. Then, I saw Natalie behind Emily, watching us through the phone screen. The smile on my face cracked. "Mom," Emily said. "I'm fine," I said. Natalie looked down. No one believed me. By late afternoon, the boys were tired. Emily was packing gifts into her car, and Natalie had stopped pretending to be casual. She found me in the hallway outside the half-bath. "I'm leaving after dinner," she said. "I know. So tell him." "I will." "When?" "When Emily leaves." She shook her head. "You keep saying after. After graduation, after lunch, after Emily leaves. There is always one more after." I looked toward the kitchen. Paul was cutting the last piece of cake into smaller pieces, careful as always. "I know what I'm doing," I said. "No, Mom, I don't think you do." That was when my own voice rose. "Do you think this is easy for me?" Natalie flinched. So did I. The hallway went still. Natalie's eyes filled again, but this time she did not wipe them. "I think you're about to break Dad's heart," she said. "And I think you wanted to do it after we were gone, so none of us had to see what it cost." There was nothing childish in her face now. No daughter asking to be protected, just an adult woman looking at me with fury and grief. "You're not protecting anyone," she said. "You're controlling the damage." "I'm going to tell him," I said. She nodded once. "Tonight?" "Yes." "If you don't, I will." Then she walked away. I stood in the hall until Emily called from the kitchen. "Mom, can you help me find the tape?" For 1 second, I almost laughed. Tape, of course. The world never gives you a clean tragedy. It gives you tape and cake crumbs and someone asking where the scissors went. I found the tape in the junk drawer. No one asked me where I'd put the scissors. Not yet. By 6, Emily had hugged me 3 times, and Paul once so long that he closed his eyes. "I'll call when I get back to my apartment," she said. "You don't have to," Paul told her. "Yes, she does," I said. Emily laughed. "I'll call." Natalie buckled the younger boy into his booster seat, then came back to me. For a moment, I thought she might hug me. Instead, she said, "I love you. I love you too." Her voice shook. "Then stop lying." She got into her car before I could answer. Paul and I stood in the open garage and watched until both cars turned the corner. The garage smelled like cardboard, gasoline, and cut grass. "Well," Paul said. One word. The whole house waiting behind us. I almost said it then. "Paul, I'm leaving." "Paul, I rented a place," but the sentence caught behind my ribs because now it did not belong only to me. It belonged to Natalie, too. It belonged to the deadline she had left behind. Paul turned toward the empty blue cooler. "I'll rinse this out," he said. I watched him carry it inside. The house after graduation did not sound empty. It sounded exposed.
Now the story has a fuse. Diane is no longer waiting for a clean moment. Natalie has made sure there will not be one. And I want to be fair to Natalie here. She is hurt. She is scared. She thinks she is forcing honesty into the room. But forcing truth is still forcing. So the question is changing. It is not just whether Diane should tell Paul. It is whether anyone in this family knows how to tell the truth without trying to steer the damage afterward.
On the kitchen island sat Emily's graduation program, the tape, 2 plastic forks, and the cream-colored card Paul had signed. "You get your life now." When Paul came back with a dish towel, there was a spot of blue frosting on his cuff. For reasons I could not explain, it made me angry. Not because it was messy, because it was ordinary. Because he was standing there with frosting on his sleeve and damp hands from rinsing a cooler, and I was carrying an apartment key like a weapon. "I'm going to clean up the dining room," I said. "Leave it. We can do it tomorrow." "No, I want it done." He knew that tone. He did not argue. I gathered napkins, cups, programs, ribbon, tissue paper. Then I carried 2 gift bags upstairs to Emily's old room, which had become storage after she left for college. Emily's old room was cluttered with boxes, papers, and the things no one knew what to do with after a milestone. Extra programs, gift receipts, a framed photo of Emily at 5 in a soccer uniform, and 3 boxes Paul had brought down from the attic because Emily wanted a few childhood things. Natalie school, Emily school, family papers. I opened Emily's box first. Construction paper turkeys, report cards, a Mother's Day card with a purple handprint on the front. For a few minutes, I forgot to be leaving. Then my phone buzzed. Natalie, no words, just a photo. The apartment key on top of the crumpled lease receipt. Then a second message. Tonight. My whole body went hot. I set the phone face down on the bed. Not because I did not understand her, because I did. I opened the box marked Family Papers because one corner was bending and I needed my hands to do something. Inside were tax envelopes, insurance papers, old greeting cards, and a folder from our first mortgage. Under those was a manila envelope, no label. The flap was folded into itself the way Paul folded envelopes when he wanted them closed without tape. I should have put it back. I knew that before I touched it. It did not look like mine. Inside was a sheet of paper folded in thirds, a photocopy of a check, and a brochure for a furnished apartment complex near the river. The brochure was dated 19 months earlier, during Emily's junior year. My hands went cold before I understood why. The letter was not to me. It was to a man named Robert Ellis, someone Paul used to work with before Robert moved to North Carolina. Paul's letter was typed, but he had signed it by hand. "Dear Rob, I need to say this plainly to someone before I lose my nerve. I found a short-term place near the river. I opened a separate account. I think I'm going to leave after Emily's spring semester ends." I stopped reading. After. The word did not belong to me. It sat there on the page as if it had been waiting for my hand to find it. I looked at the check. The account had Paul's name on it. Enough for a deposit and first month's rent. My first thought was not heartbreak. It was not betrayal. It was almost worse. It was recognition. He had made a door too. He had made a door, and then he had closed it.
That changes things. Not because Diane suddenly becomes wrong, not because Paul suddenly becomes innocent, but because the secret she thought belonged only to her now has a mirror. We were waiting for Diane to confess. Instead, she has found proof that Paul once stood at the edge of the same decision. Does that make her lonelier? Or does it mean she was never the only one trapped in the silence?
I sat beside Emily's childhood bed and read the rest of the letter, the purple handprint card resting in my lap. Paul wrote that he was tired, that we had become careful strangers, that he did not want to spend the rest of his life managing a silence no one would name. He wrote, "I think Diane will hate me, but maybe hatred would be cleaner than this." The letter did not say why he stayed. That absence was louder than anything else. No affair, no apology, no explanation. Only the fact of a plan abandoned. Downstairs, a cabinet closed. Paul was in the kitchen. I folded the letter along its old creases and took the envelope with me. At the top of the stairs, I stopped. I could have put it back. I could have chosen not to look closer. That had been my talent for years. But Natalie was right about one thing. There was always another after, not this time. Paul was at the sink when I came into the kitchen, washing serving spoons by hand. "Why did you stay?" I asked. He turned off the water. No panic, no denial. Just the water stopping and the sudden sighs of the quiet around us. Then he saw the envelope in my hand. "Where did you find that?" "In the family papers box." He dried his hands on the dish towel. "I wasn't looking for it," I said. "I know. You know? I know you." That almost made me laugh. After apartments and secret accounts and years of silence, he could still say that with such calm certainty. "You plan to leave me?" "Yes." "When?" "During Emily's junior year." The answer was too close, too alive. "Why was it in that box?" He looked toward the dark kitchen window. "I typed it at work, printed a copy, meant to throw it away. Then I filed it with everything else." "Why?" He was quiet. "Because it was the only honest thing I'd written down." That answer hurt in a place I did not have a name for. "Why didn't you leave?" He looked at the envelope, then at me. "Because your father died." My father had died 14 months earlier, after 6 months of hospital beds, rehab centers, and phone calls that came at the worst possible time. "You wrote this before he died." "I know. So that is not the whole reason." "No." "Then tell me the whole reason." He rubbed one hand over his mouth. "I went to see the apartment," he said. "I had the deposit check. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes. I could see him too clearly. Paul in his old sedan, hands on the wheel, the check on the passenger seat. I thought about coming home and telling you," he said. "I thought, maybe if I said it, we would finally have to talk." "But you didn't." "No." "Why?" He looked at me. "Because when I got home, you were in the laundry room crying." I remembered. The week after my father's funeral, I had gone into the laundry room, shut the door, and folded towels until I could not see them. Then I had slid down the cabinet and cried with a towel pressed against my mouth so no one would hear. Paul had knocked once. I had said, "I'm fine." He had believed me, or pretended to. "You didn't say anything," I said. "You told me you were fine." "I always said I was fine." "I know." There it was, the shape of us. "So you decided for me." "I decided not to add one more loss." "You decided for me." "Yes." He did not defend it. That made it harder. "I thought you needed the family intact," he said. "Emily was still in school. Natalie was overwhelmed with the boys. Your mother needed help with everything. You were walking around like one more thing would split you open." My voice rose before I could stop it. You don't get to decide what would split me open. He flinched. Good, I thought. Then I hated myself for thinking it. You're right, he said. The words were so quiet they almost made me angrier. Don't make this noble, I said. I'm not. Yes, you are. You stayed and made yourself the good man, the steady man, the man who sacrificed. His jaw tightened. For the first time, his voice sharpened. And you didn't? The room went still. I stared at him. He looked almost frightened by his own words, but he did not take them back. What does that mean? I asked. It means you've been gone for years, Diane. You were here, but you were gone. You think I didn't know? Something in me broke hot and fast. Then why didn't you say something? Because every time I tried, you said you were tired or busy or fine. I was holding the family together. So was I. No, I said, and now I was crying. No, Paul, you were deciding for me. The tears came harder than I wanted, not graceful, not quiet. Angry tears, the kind that made my throat hurt. He reached toward the napkins, then stopped himself. That small stopping undid me more than if he had touched me. Did you ever think, I said, that I might not want to be the reason you stayed? He looked at me. I saw the answer before he gave it. No, he said. That was the difference between us, though it took me a moment to say it to myself. I had erased myself and called it devotion. He had appointed himself protector and called it mercy. Both of us had mistaken silence for kindness, but they were not the same failure.
This is where the triangle becomes clear. Diane hid the truth because she thought it would protect the family. Natalie threatened the truth because she thought it would protect Paul. And Paul hid his own truth because he thought it would protect Diane. 3 different kinds of love. 3 different ways of taking choice away. I believe every one of them was afraid. But fear does not give you the right to decide which truth another person is strong enough to survive.
Paul, I said. He looked almost relieved to hear his name. I rented an apartment. He did not move. Then he said, For Emily? For me? The refrigerator motor kicked off and the quiet became enormous. When? 3 weeks ago. Where? Maple Ridge, by the library. Were you going to tell me tonight? Yes. Because of Natalie? I closed my eyes, so he had seen something. Partly, I said. His face changed. She knows. She found the key. He looked toward the stairs, though Natalie was gone. For a second, I saw the injury pass through him. Not anger first, hurt. She knew before I did, he said. I was going to tell you. But she knew before I did. I had no answer for that. He sat down slowly. I sat across from him. The chair felt too familiar. Did you stay because you loved me? I asked. He looked at me for a long time. I don't know how to answer that without making it sound better than it was. Try. I loved you, he said. I think I also loved being the kind of man who stayed. That hurt because it was honest. I loved our family, I said. I think I also loved being the kind of woman who could endure. There was no victory in it, no clean villain, no clean mercy. Just the 2 of us at the same kitchen table where we had spent most of our lives, not saying the thing that mattered. My phone buzzed on the island. Natalie again. Did you tell him? Paul looked at the screen, then at me. I almost turned the phone face down. Instead, I left it there. Yes, I said, though I was not sure whether I was answering Natalie or Paul. Paul read the message. He swallowed. Tell her, he said. What? Tell her yes. I picked up the phone with shaking hands. I typed one word. Yes. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, Natalie wrote back. Is he okay? I looked at Paul. He gave a small, broken laugh. No, he said, but tell her I will be. I typed it. Then Natalie sent one more message. I'm sorry. I did not know which of us she meant. Maybe all of us. Paul pushed the phone gently back toward me. Are you leaving tonight? he asked. The key in my purse seemed to grow heavier. Yes. I'm not moving out forever tonight, I said. I don't know what I'm doing forever. Okay. I just need one night where no one assumes I'll be here. His face twisted slightly. He tried to hide it. I wished he had not. I understand, he said. No, you don't. He opened his eyes. I don't mean that cruelly, I said. I mean, neither of us has understood anything for a long time. For a moment, the house sounded exactly as it had for years. Clock, refrigerator, the soft settling of walls. Then Paul said, I'm sorry I made you small in my mind. That was the ugly, true sentence. Not because it was cruel, because it was accurate. I covered my mouth. He looked down at the table. And I'm sorry, I said, that I made leaving you the only place I could tell the truth. Neither apology fixed anything, but both of them stayed in the room. Upstairs, I packed badly. Toothbrush, pajamas, phone charger, a blouse for the morning. The book on my nightstand that I had not been reading so much as holding open until Paul fell asleep. Then I stood in the closet. For years I had imagined this moment as clean. Instead, I could not decide which shoes belonged to a woman spending her first night alone in an apartment she had rented to leave her husband. I took the black flats. Downstairs, Paul had put Emily's graduation card back on the island. You get your life now. My purse sat on the chair where I had left it that morning. I opened the zipper pocket and touched the key. Still real. Still mine. Paul stood when I picked up my bag. I won't call the girls, he said. Natalie already knows. I mean Emily. Thank you. If she calls, I'll say you went to bed early. I almost smiled. That is a very married lie. It is. At the front door, I turned back. Paul stood in the hallway under the light fixture we had been meaning to replace since 2014. I don't know if I'm coming back tomorrow, I said. I know. I might not. His mouth trembled once before he steadied it. I know. He did not ask me to stay. That was either love or restraint, or the first honest thing he had given me in years. Maybe all three. The apartment smelled like new carpet, old paint, and someone else's lemon air freshener. There was no couch, no television, no stack of mail with Paul's name mixed in with mine. For months, I had imagined this quiet as freedom. And it was, partly. No one would ask me where I put the scissors. No one would say, I'll get it later, and make me wonder whether help was love or control. But the quiet did not applaud me. It did not tell me I had been right. I sat on the floor with my back against the wall and took the key out of my purse. It rested in my palm, small and silver and ordinary. My phone buzzed. Natalie. I almost did not look. Then I did. I'm sorry I threatened you. I was scared. A second message came. I'm still angry. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Then I typed back. Me too. I did not know whether I meant I was scared or sorry or angry. Maybe all of it. At home, Paul was probably sitting in the kitchen or standing in the closet the way I had, looking at the space where my bag had been. I did not know. For once, I would not pretend to know. That was the first honest mercy I could offer either of us. We had all called it protection. For years, each of us believed we were saving someone else from a truth they could not survive. But none of us had asked. Maybe my marriage was over. Maybe it was not. I did not know yet. I only knew that the lying was over, not the kind where you say something false, the kind where you make a whole life out of what you refuse to say. I closed my hand around the key and listened to the refrigerator hum.
The key started as Diane's private proof that she still had a choice. Then Natalie found it, and suddenly the choice was not private anymore. Then Diane found Paul's old letter, and the story became something harder than one person leaving and one person being left. I do not think anyone in this family was trying to be cruel, but all three of them tried to protect someone by controlling the truth. So if you were Diane, would you still spend that night in the apartment, or would the truth make you turn back toward the house? I want to hear which choice feels honest to you in the comments below.